I tell you, this is what really changed my perspective. Back when I was at Mark O'Brien, I was doing the what you want to do thing, and one kid said he wanted to be a bus driver. And I was like, hell nah. You know what I'm saying? My arrogance, right? Like, you don't want to be no bus driver. I remember calling my mentor after the session, like, man, kid told me he wanted to be a bus driver. He was like, tell me about it. I'm like, 8th grade, maybe read like a 5th grade, live in the project. He's like, stop. He's like, if that kid want to be the bus driver, he said, it sounds like if he grows up and becomes a bus driver, he's doing well for himself. He said, it's your job to teach him how to own the bus company. And I was like, phew.
My partner told me, man, there's 3 kind of people in the world.
Welcome back to the Rob the Savage podcast. I got another special guest. This man's a legend in the city. Man, I've been knowing him for a long time, man. I'm loving what he's doing with the youth. He's an author. He's an entrepreneur. Patrick Walker Reese.
What's up, brother? Thank you.
Man, glad to have you, man.
I'm glad to be here, man. I've been watching you do your thing for a long time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, I'm about to have a podcast to like, man, you got everybody on this podcast.
Oh, man.
I'm glad, because I know we talked about it early on.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
So I was kind of nervous when I doubled back. Like, man, I hope you still got a little spot for me.
Nah, man. I'm always gonna have room for the Kings, man.
For sure.
No, bro. But look, before we dive into, man, everything that you do a lot.
Okay, sure.
Let's let the people know, man, who is Patrick Walker Reese?
Man, today, who is Patrick Walker Reese? A dad. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
We start right there. A 2-year-old. But I'm just I'm a disruptor. You know what I'm saying? I've historically been one of those people that, even as a kid, I was gonna stand out in certain situations. You know what I mean? I tell people I used to get in church. I used to get in trouble in school and church all the time.
Man, right, yeah.
I'm gonna ask the questions. I'm gonna want to know what's going on. I was never one of the kids you could just tell it was this.
Right, I ain't just going with anything.
And I've never been that as an adult. You know what I mean? But as an adult, I worked in various environments, and I've been blessed, much like yourself, to be around people that was like living the lives that they wanted, that was building dreams and phenomenal things. And so, as I was starting my journey of living the life I wanted to live, I tried to create a pathway and an entrepreneurial vision to create a company that taught other people, primarily youth development.
Okay.
And then that evolved into like business and sports kind of help. But that's just, man, who is Patrick? Patrick is a connector, man. I tell people my gift thing, it's not necessarily public speaking. It's my ability to use words to connect. And that's been useful for me. Yeah, it's been beneficial for me. Just words, whether it's written, oral, connection, just people. But it definitely will say that it started off out of youth development. You know what I mean? I had to remind myself that I'm an entrepreneur, because the business that I'm in really never felt like a business until I had to like do taxes.
Right. Oh man, that's the underlying thing.
Once you start getting your back end, the paperwork part, that's when you're like, okay, yeah, I'm an entrepreneur now. But the work of it kind of just been natural, going from like youth development to professional development to sports development to books and sales and all that merch and all that kind of stuff that comes with it. But I'm sure we'll get into that for sure.
I know, of course, man. But I love that, man, because like you'd be surprised how many people in our audience, man, who really they're struggling on the fence of the entrepreneurship. They don't know the woes that come from that. Even ourselves, me and Candace, we navigate into this podcast life. Like, man, it look good one day, next day it might be kind of shady.
For sure.
But people need to know that.
And that's the thing, right? So that's why we call our thing dream building.
Okay.
Because when you're really in it, like, Meek and them and people got the dream chasing. But the nature of chasing is something running away from you, right? And you could be chasing forever. Right. But when we came together, it was like, nah, we build it. You know what I'm saying? Like every day we land, even if it's one brick, you know what I'm saying? If you ever actually been a part of like building a house or you watch things get built, some days it rain, some days you're going over the specs, you know what I mean? Some days you might just be looking at the paint, but every day you laying something down to build whatever it is that you're building. And I never seen anybody not get there as long as they kept building. Now, a timetable, you know what I mean? I'm sure you talk to some real estate guys, right? You might have thought that thing was going to be done in August, or you might have thought it was a 2-year project. And that's one of the things I've learned on the journey is that God will give you the vision. He ain't going to necessarily give you the timetable. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, I had a vision for 4 books when I wrote my first one. I got into my first one and my second one and realized, man, it almost take a year, 2-3 years to get a book out, right? And so I laugh, I giggled at myself because I'm like, okay, if it take 3 years to get a good book out, 2 years to get it, I'm talking about, I had a clear vision of 4 books. That's a 10-year vision when it's the moment that you get it. And that's the thing that we try to convey to people, man. When I talk to a young cat, he's like, yo, I'm 14, I want to go to the NBA. I'm like, all right, in the next 6 years, you want to be worth $20 million? Come on. I had a kid say that to his coach. He couldn't even get the words out of his mouth because he never framed it that way. He like, yo, I want to go to the league. I'm like, cool. Average age in the league, what, 18, 19, 20, right? Let's say, I give you a year. You're really old at 20, but I give you a year. So you're 14. In the next 6 years, you want to be an NBA player.
And you people 400 jobs.
You see what I'm saying? Average salary gonna be, you know, you might sign a little rookie deal. You might walk away with $6-7 million a year. So look at your coach and tell him you want to be worth $8 million in the next 6 years. And then think about what time you woke up this morning, how many shots you put up today. And if that don't change your behavior, then we gotta change the goal, right? Because that timetable is the biggest thing. And so that's why we call ours building. You know what I'm saying? And because you can be putting that brick down every day. And it's not unrealistic until the moment you wake up and you get tired of putting them bricks down, right? And then the other thing I say about that too is that I had to remind myself that, man, sometimes we looking at super established houses, we looking at mansions, we looking at estates that people have been building on for decades, for generations, and we like, yo, I want that. Like when you're looking at Hov, or you look at Jordan, or you look at LeBron, like we really aspire to some of these things in our brain, or we see people driving what they driving, or working how they working, or having their family how they have it.
Be inspiration.
And not realize how long it took that person to do that. You know what I'm saying?
And I'm gonna get back on this too. The youth just thing is overnight.
Not even just the youth.
Oh yeah, that's true. You're right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the scariest part.
That is the scary part.
I was doing what I do for like 7, 8 years. And then people are like, yo, can you come do a workshop with the teachers? I get in there and I'm like, yo, you don't have no vision either.
And you teaching the kids.
You don't have no passion either. You don't know your strengths either. You don't got no personal brand either. You feel what I'm saying? It was like, oh, hold on. So adults need this same conversation. Adults need this same level of like, and that's what I tell people, like, I don't really, again, we call it dream building, because most people not doing what they want to do, they doing what they get to do, or they doing what they had to do. You feel what I'm saying? Doing what you want to do, that's a totally different ball game. You know what I'm saying? And the freedoms and the struggles that come with freedom. You know what I'm saying? So that's the biggest. That's been the biggest challenge and what we try to make our whole platform on. And honestly, I feel like, and I posted something on Instagram this morning. It was like I had to realize that for any of us, the only dream is freedom. You know what I'm saying? And then it kind of gave me chills because it's like that's been the dream of our people from the beginning. And it looked different ways: sports, music, art, agriculture, real estate, education, media, entertainment. The goal is freedom.
And I'm gonna piggyback on that, bro. What's so crazy about that is our white counterpart. One of the stress levels they don't have a lot of times, and that's it, is the level of having financial freedom. So one thing about being a black man in this society, you know, we working hard, we've been taught that, boom, boom, and that puts so much stress on you when it's not happening the way you want to happen. I've noticed in our white counterpart, they don't really have that stress, and it's coming from the youth. They already have things set up for them. What is a little bit more, have a little, go get them out.
And watch what I think, what we have to know as you're building, right? And because they don't have the desires that we had. So you take a 24-year-old Caucasian male and a 24-year-old black male, you give them 10 years. If you take the money that you spent on Jordans and put it in a box, now you're looking at, man, how he got a house? How his car paid off? Because he never spent $200, $300 on shoes.
Never.
And I'm talking about a regular African-American male in our society that may not even make a lot. Let's say you take 2 pairs of shoes a month. $300-400. And you take that over a 10-year period, and you like, nah, and I'm talking about a group of people that never ever did it in their life. Never waited, never bought a $100 jacket, never bought a $60 hat, never bought a $200 pair of shoes, never bought a $400 bottle. Now you look up at 34, and they brought a partner in at 26. You understand what I'm saying? And so I say that to say what I had to realize on my journey, it's the desires that's killing us. It's the things that it's the things that we buy or the things that we do for temporary escapes from the freedom that we don't have. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The clubs, the shoes. I tell people, it was a point in time where you feel like, if I got these shoes and he don't, I'm better than him.
Off top.
Like,
it's still hitting grown people now.
Like, if it's a young lady right here and she looking at both of us, it's like, I know you.
Right.
I know you see me. Like, how could you? He don't have.
Right.
Some of our cultural counterparts, they don't have that set of desires.
Right.
And the sickest part about it for us is a lot of times those aimless desires have such big financial tags on them. Right. And it's not about the initial purchase, because we like, okay, I got it. Man, think about that over a 10-year period. Think about that over a 5-year period. Think about it over a 20-year period, right? And then when you look up, you're like, hey, what did you do with? Right. Oh man, well, you know, I bought a house, sold that 5 years later, that turned into You look up, we on our 3rd and 4th sneaker collection. I'm guilty, you know what I'm saying, of being on both sides of it. I had enough sense to dabble into some, you know what I mean, some stocks and play around with some real estate when I was early, had some losses and things like that. But that's been the biggest thing for me, is trying to convey realistic conversations to people that look like us and people that don't about what it is. And when we got into all of that space, and even as we get older, you meet people, you know what I'm saying? It's like freedom. The podcast is fun. It's media freedom. Your ability, it's free speech, free, right? And ideally, it'll lead to financial freedom. Being able to say that, man, what you do, I do this. Correct. And then this leads to, you know what I mean? Correct. And very rarely do you find people that's actually doing all the things they want to do. And when you do, you hang on to them people. You know what I mean? And it's a gift and a curse for me. I got some really good friends that haven't had 9 to 5s since, you know what I mean, probably 20 years. And that's the gift and the curse too, because you waking up going to work, watching your partners now. And again, they working, they tail off. It's a different mindset, it's a switch. And we'll talk about that a little bit later too, but I tell people one of the biggest myths of entrepreneurialism is not having a job. Jay-Z keep a job. It's one of my favorite. Jay-Z keep a job. Right. He said, I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman. You know what I'm saying? Like when Jay-Z working for Def Jam, that's a job. Correct. When Shaq working for TNT, that's a job. Right. You know what I'm saying? That's a job. But we think we supposed to hop in our podcast and never go to work again. Right. We think we supposed to start our t-shirt line and never go to work again. You gotta have operating capital. Correct. You gotta have operating capital for your business. And you gotta have operating capital for your life. Right. That's how Jay-Z and Beyonce go out here and rent these states. So when people were like, man, I can't believe Jay-Z working with the NFL. I said, who you think he was working with when you went to see his wife at Nissan Stadium? Right. Who you thought he was working with? Right. But because he came out and sat down, you looked at it different, so you kind of chuckle. Right. Because it's just letting people know, like, you're not understanding the business of it. And so, but yeah, man, it's freedom. Freedom would be the platform, would be the goal. You know what I mean? For sure, great question.
Man, so to go back a little bit, man, on with the youth. What city are you from?
So, born in Nashville.
Okay.
Left early, went to Cincinnati for a minute. Okay. So I got a lot of biological family in Cincinnati still to this day. You know what I mean? Like, I got a little brother that looked like I probably never even said this out loud, but I got a brother, his name Dale. He looked just like he lived in Cincinnati. We didn't grow up together. We got the same mom. Then I left there and went to Chicago. Okay. So that's where, like, I was raised. I tell people I learned how to walk, talk, ride my bike in Chicago. Bulls, Bears, Blackhawks, White Sox. All that. You know what I'm saying? I'm a Comiskey Park kind of guy.
Girl shaking everything.
All of that, you know what I'm saying? Then I came back to Nashville. Okay. You know what I mean? So I came back down here around 4th, 5th grade. Okay. Snuck my foot into Alex Green for a minute. Okay. So that was my introduction to the city. Like, I met all the Alex Green, I went to Kings Lane, White Creek, all of that.
That's my high school.
Ended up going to Meigs. Okay. Right.
Okay.
Went from there straight to Human Fall. Okay. And then I grew up out east. You know what I'm saying?
Probably. Hold on, was it Meigs or was it Highland Heights? I'm gonna say I have to take you back.
I went to Meigs.
We
played Highland Heights, right?
Okay.
We used to have our coach tell us, like, when you go play Highland Heights, man, we changing before we go. We weren't touching the locker room in Highland Heights. I promise you that.
What's the white boy shooter y'all had that made that? What's the name?
Man, we had a couple.
Man, what's his name? I always joke with Shane about this all the time. I can't think of his name.
What year did you come out?
I came to White Creek in 07.
Okay, so I came out in 05. So
he might have been there. He was there for sure in Meigs. And I think he ended up hooping at East. I can't think of his name right now. He was shooting at that.
For sure. I had to go back and look. I had to go back and think about it. But Yeah, so then I left there and went to, I was supposed to go to UT Chat. Okay. They was playing my financial aid. I was determined not to go to TSU.
Okay.
And my mom and them, I was like determined. That's that guy. I was determined. Like I used to be a joke in our house. Like, I ain't going to TSU.
Yeah, yeah.
But going through high school, I ended up losing like my grandma, my granddad, all that type of stuff. My biological mother and my biological father like thrown off, right? So my father was locked up for years. My mother was a drug addict. So when I was young, my mother married a guy named Carl LaRue, amazing man. Okay. So shouts out to anybody that raised kids at their days.
Most of that. Oh yeah. Most of that.
Listen, like we could be here a whole another hour. You know what I'm saying? Right. That, and I can honestly say I probably didn't even appreciate it or understand the concept of it until I had my own daughter. And just all of it takes as a man to like raise another child and the interactions with that child's mother and just being on one accord with somebody to try to bring a life into the world. Right. And then thinking about somebody voluntarily taking on that responsibility. And their whole family kind of like embracing it, you know what I mean? And so that was how I ended up back in Nashville from Chicago. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Okay. It's just kind of owning. So when I'm using the word dad, I'm talking about Carl, you know what I mean? Okay. Later in my life, after college, my biological father got released and he reached out through letter. I got a chance to go see him once. And that was kind of cool after that, for real. And so I say all that to say that's kind of like how education and dream building kind of came a part of my fabric. Because I always knew like, man, this could go a lot of ways. You know what I'm saying? And so, you get out there and you start hearing those stories. And a lot of times when we go through, like, I use the word trauma now, but I didn't deem it as trauma then, it was my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it's not until you get older and you like, dang, like, so like right now, my daughter is probably the only person in my life daily that got the same blood as me. You know what I'm saying? That I know. You know what I'm saying? I can call some Cincinnati people that got my same blood, and you know what I mean. But as far as like day to day, my daughter the only person, and so it make you look at things a little differently. It make you look at things a little differently, and so that was kind of where my background in education really came. Because when I first started, I was probably in about 4th or 5th grade at Meg's, 5th or 6th grade at Meg's. I'm sorry. And one of my teachers had us like doing some peer tutoring. She had us kind of go to the elementary school and rock. And that was one of the first times I even started telling my story out loud. Not as like, not some people today like, I'm from. It was more just telling a kid like, bro, like I know how you feel. Like, right. My mom was a woo. Right. And just seeing the reaction of the teachers coming back like, man, he didn't want to read with nobody, but he read with you. I'm like 12, you know what I'm saying? But it was like, at Meg's my story was unique. But in life, in my neighborhood, my story wasn't unique. At Human Falls, my story was unique. Right. But in my neighborhood, all of our stories were similar. You know what I'm saying?
And that's deep, man. Especially having that background, I ain't going to Human Falls. That's a big difference. Yeah. And I think the white one name was Lippy too.
Yeah. I do know you talking about for sure.
But Human Falls. Wait, so was you living in the Kingsland area or?
I wasn't even living over there when I went to Alice Green. I wasn't living too far, but right after that we moved. But with Meg's, you can live anywhere. But we ended up moving out east. Okay. So I was catching the 20 Scott bus. You know what I'm saying? Going to the Landford, down to the transfer station. Landford. I mean, just real, just real Nashville stuff growing up. My sister went to East. My brother went to MLK, you know what I'm saying? And so, Dan Mills, my sister went to Lytton before that. And my cousin was at Maplewood with Spencer and Jamal, you know what I'm saying? And so my mama graduated from Stratford in like 84. So it was
east to the core, you know what I mean?
Walking to the Margaret Maddox Wide, man, from Inglewood to the Margaret Maddox Wide, you know what I mean? Right, so it was a beautiful time, man, beautiful time. And then, like I said, my first job was at Martha O'Brien. Okay. So I'm on South 8, 10 years, right? So I'm out east through and through in that regard. And then I said, once I left there, went back and got my master's at TSU. Started working with the school district at McKissick. Okay. And so I've been out north for 15 years. Right. Down to the mayor of out north from an education standpoint. Almost there. Just from education, right? Right. Different people running different sectors, but in education, we've been able to do a lot of good work out there.
Okay. I mean, I always want to show that backstory, man, how the desire for the youth came from, and that's in the trenches, man. East Nashville, it'll build you, man. That's why I am where I am. allocate a lot of stuff to East Nashville, especially just growing up in that whole area.
For sure. See, they didn't got you with that gentrified lingo. You talking about East Nashville? I'm from out east.
Out
I
east,
don't know where he from. I'm from out east.
Damn, man, he got me though. He right. Out east. I don't know. I'm over trying to talk to him.
He might be from over there by Red Pepper.
Oh man, he's here, Red Pepper. Right.
No, I'm teasing.
He crazy, man. But no, man. Like so. All right, man. You end up choosing the right school, TSU.
For sure.
Then you went back to grad school. As you're navigating, especially after grad school, it's still, what was that push to want to get to where you're at right now?
So when I was in grad school, I'm probably 23, 24. I'm working in Monto Bryan, but at this time, like DJ Christ is my best friend.
Shout out to Christ.
Black Rob, Ted, so I'm watching these guys, and these guys making a shitload of money.
Right, not for sure. Young.
I'm not like pocket watching, but I'm just knowing how much money I'm getting, and I'm they able to buy if I buy them shoes, mom, you know what I'm saying?
Christ at that time he was bugged.
Oh my God.
Black got the whole party thing jumping.
Yeah, for sure. So, and this is a true story. I probably never told this story, but when I was in college, so I used to be Christ's manager. You know what I'm saying? Because it got to a point where he was just something like, bro, you gotta let me answer the phone. You know what I'm saying?
Something.
Just went from being his homie to being his manager. So we traveling, we doing tours, and he had to go on. We were in school. He had to go on tour, but. They did a West Coast tour, so it's finals and all that. So he going for 12 days. I'm like, what? But he still got clubs and stuff that he got percentages of, right? So at this point, I'm going to the clubs, taking his portion home, putting it in a box, and then he coming back to get it. Right. You know what I'm saying? When he get off tour, so he making tour money. He making this. So I'm in school, You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm going to work, do my little job, making my little hourly money. You know what I'm saying? So he come home. I want to say I probably had anywhere from $6,000 to $7,000 cash of his, in a drawer waiting on him. You know what I'm saying? Right. And I just remember this what y'all be doing at the end of the club. You know what I mean? And it was okay, but it wasn't for me. It was never ooh, let me do that. Right. It was I gotta figure out my thing. Right. You know what I'm saying? So of course I did it some, worked some doors, you know what I mean? But it was never let me start a promo company and go, you know what I mean? I was never really that kind of let me do what they doing, you know what I'm saying? We could do it together some, let's do it together some, but it was more of a mindset. Of oh, this is why you quit Publix. Okay. This is why you quit UPS, right? So it's you building this, you know what I mean? And so for me, we did I remember the game changer was a part, Atlanta Classic. Okay. Travis Porter came and performed. I think they had booked Young Dro. Yeah. And I remember that time I was making about $39,000 a year at Monto Bryan. And I remember Black Rob and Crisis sent me and Zach Boog to the back. They yo, y'all go with security. You know what I'm saying? Just count the door, let us know. You know what I mean? And I remember it being $39,000. And I remember dropping it on the table and being bro, this my whole year on the table. Yeah. Nah. Right. So in that moment, I was I gotta be an entrepreneur. I gotta start something. And then I heard Eric Thomas had dropped a mixtape. He dropped a mixtape, and he was on you wanna breathe as bad as you want. I used to listen to it. You know what I mean? He used to be this website called The Come Up. We used to all living in Greenville. I used to go to The Come Up every night and just read stories about successful people. I'm reading the monk who sold his Ferrari. To this day, I still don't eat chicken. I ain't ate chicken since 2012. I don't eat beef. I don't eat pork. Just because in that book, it was just talking about the things you got to try. So I'm 23, 24, and I'm okay, who you going to be at 35? So I'm telling myself. Right. I used to play this game on my dry erase board, these 7 things that I needed to do, work out, do push-ups, read, and it was me versus myself. So any day I did them, I gave my new self a point. Any day I didn't do them, I used to give my old self a point. And the goal was at the end of the week, my new self had to win more days than my old self. Yeah. And so I'm going. Then I hear Eric Thomas one day he said Nike gave him $10,000 for a speech. I was what? I've been SGA president. Of course, I'm working with kids. I'm doing workshops. And I'm rewind that. Nike gave $10,000 for a speech. Yeah. So I get to Google. I'm I ain't know niggas was making this kind of money for speeches. So it's crazy. And so I'm boom, I called the guy. I'm finna be a speaker, bro. They're what you mean? I'm about to be a speaker. So I thought that I would just be Eric Thomas out the gate. I'm gonna go give speeches. People gonna give me $1,000 and I'm gone. You know what I'm saying? It didn't really work like that.
Right, you know man. This talking about that. Like, we jumped in this. I'm thinking I'm going to be Vlad TV tomorrow. Man, nah, it take time.
It didn't really work like that. I remember one of my first speeches was at a little church behind Pearl Cone. They had called me to speak. I'm geeked up. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to bring Crisis from 101. I had my little presentation. I put the laptop with the HDMI into their little bitty ass TV.
Yeah.
They had it was like a lock-in.
Right.
And I had a presentation called Dreams, Desires, Imagination. I was telling kids, like, how you take a vision and make it real. Boom. Did the little presentation. They loved it. They're like, baby, that was so good. You brought the man from the radio station. We're going to send you some money. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm going to get paid.
Right.
Man, it took about a week. I opened to the mailbox. I think it was, keep in mind, it was 4 grown women in there talking to me. It was like the chaperones. That check was $25. I remember thinking to myself, like, dang, they couldn't even send me 10 apiece, bro. But it was $25. So the breakthrough was the YMCA gave me $100 for a workshop. I remember that. I remember calling my mom, like, y'all make $100 an hour. She was like, how many hours? I was like, worry about it. But the breakthrough was a lady named Shavika, and I always shout out to Shavika. She used to run a women's program over at Fish. And she was running a YMCA program called USSAA. Okay. So I used to go do Fish for free. This is the nature of people like doing free work. I still do free work to this day. I tell you, if you're good, the money will find you. Right. But this is kind of how it evolved from the Eric Thomas giving speeches to boom. So Shavika hits me and she like, yo, I want you to come out and talk to my students at Cumberland University. She said, I want you to come out Tuesdays and Thursdays for 3 weeks. Do an hour every time you come. I'm gonna give you $3,500.
Wait, what?
So I'm like, so I gotta come Tuesdays and Thursdays. Right. 1 hour, 3 weeks. That's 6 times for 35. So I'm doing the math. Like, that's decent.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And then I was like, oh, okay. So I called my business partner and I was like, we're about to switch our business models. We do workshops now. Okay. And so I took that same presentation that I was doing and I had 9 bullet points. And I took each one of those bullet points and turned it into a separate hour-long workshop. Okay. And then I put a workbook and like pages. So now when I'm showing up, I got like vision boards, vision statement. I did the research, and so it was like, oh, people will pay $3,500, $2,500 for a 1 hour workshop. Yeah. It's harder to get that for a keynote. Yeah, okay. Because keynotes going to famous people. Right. You know what I'm saying? My biggest contract I ever had at TSU, they gave it to me one semester. The next semester, they pulled the budget and gave it to Eric Thomas for graduation. Les Brown, somebody that you know what I'm saying? And I remember when that happened. This was years after the story I'm telling now, but I remember being like, ironically, Eric Thomas being the reason I started this, and he also the reason I'm not getting this. Right. But those were the people that were getting, even to this day, like sports figures. You know what I mean? Those are the people that are getting some of those larger. It's like idols become rivals. Exactly. But the workshop game opened the world for me. Okay. And it was better for me because I always said you couldn't really change nobody's life, especially a young person, in 60 minutes. No. You can give a little spark of motivation, but then they go. But if I can come back to your school 3, 4, 5, 6 times, we can really put something in you that is trying to help you navigate. Even if it ain't right now, it might be something you heard down the road that you use. And so the workshop game so we took those principles, put 6 or 7 workshops together, packaged them all as a program called Dream Builders, and that's when things really that's when people, so even now people are like, oh, I saw you speaking. Most of the time if I'm somewhere, like last week I was at Cameron just giving a speech to a gym, most of the time that's free. I got you. If you see me somewhere with the workbooks out and the pencil and the paper, oftentimes they pay thousands of dollars for that. That's major though. That's major though. Yeah. But it's your work. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Man, Pack Facts. Yeah. Tell me about that. I meant to bring you one in too. So Pack Facts started in that same regard. So I'm speaking, I'm going around. Pack Facts really started as a joke. Saying my guys, my friends, I used to always have like little quotes. I loved quotes always. Okay. This from school, you know what I'm saying? I had to, when I was getting tattoos, I had to, one of my artists was like, bro, you probably should want to start putting some pictures because you got so many words. Like when you get old, we ain't reading all these words. Right, that's real. So my first few tats was like, my first tat was, it takes a village to raise a child, but it's in a circle. So it says, it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a child to raise a village. And I came under the true meaning of life is to plant trees under whose shade you never expect to sit. Long ass tat, right? So I was always in the quotes. And so my partner's like, man, what's that? You got the facts, don't it? It's a Pat fact, ain't it? And so when I was on the road going to see all these speakers, God put me to the side. He like, bro, where your book? I'm like, I ain't got no book. He like, listen. I'm like, they paid me to come. He like, so what? Like, if somebody pay you $1,000 to come, it's 300 people in this room. He like, if half of them people buy a $10 book, you just
come on now.
Carry the one, you know what I mean?
And on your merch.
So I that was my partner. I put out a $20 book. At that time, it was costing us like $9, $10 to get the book printed.
Okay.
Quick run at PatFax. We use some free publishing images. So people that don't know, if you're looking to write or whatever, there's websites out there that got like amazing images that people just sell to certain websites, and then they free to you to use, right?
Okay,
So there was some images in my first book that I done seen everywhere.
I got you.
But I just bought like 50 images and found my quotes that match the image.
Okay.
And then I put a paragraph behind it. Sold it, but we ended up selling like 1,000 of them. You know what I'm saying? They're like $20. Okay. It took us about a year and a half.
Right.
Then I called my publisher, who was my frat brother. I was like, yo, what I gotta do to like not have to go through you?
Okay.
And he was like, Pat, I'm really only making $1 per book off of you just because you're my mans. But if you want to cut that out, you just got to go get your own EIN numbers and publish them, go register with the Library of Congress, blase skill. So I did that, and then my partner designed me as a character instead of using the fake images, right?
Right.
And then we wrote that. I'm traveling around the country with Derek Grace and them at the time that I'm writing. So me, Derek Grace, 19 Keys, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And these guys, and at the same time, we all studying Nipsey plays.
Okay.
Derek got curriculums he's selling for $200-$300. 19 Keys got Gold Water. Osmo was on tour with us at some of these times, and so initially, I'm like, I'm gonna drop a $100 book.
Okay.
Period. You know what I'm saying? It's 52 quotes in it. Cause I was in Oakland with Derek, and he was selling like $200 books, man. He had one quote on every page. It was like of God and me. And it was 365 quotes, but no explanation, no nothing, just the quote. So I'm talking street cats coming in here, bringing their kids. I'm like, bro, why are y'all paying $200 for this book? And they like, man, bro, they gave us so much free game. It's the least we can do. I was like, wow. Yeah. And Derek was telling me, he like, bro, it take you more than $2 a life to put each quote down. So if you have a $100 book and you got 52 quotes in here, that's less than $2 a quote. The life that you live to write that quote is worth more than $2 a quote. And I'm like, hell yeah, it is. You feel what I'm saying? So truth be told, the pandemic hit, and I was scared because because what we did the second time, I self-published all the way out. So we found a plug overseas. So my first book, $10. So my second book was like half of that. Okay. But we got double the pages, all unique illustrations, but we got to get 1,000 of them to get that ticket. So now I got to put out 6,000 up front. Middle of the pandemic, and I'm finna buy 1,000 hard copy books. Hell no, ain't nobody even reading books, right? We do that, but the breakthrough was, shout out to Darwin Mason. I had a principal, when my first book was out, he said, yo, my fourth grader graduated, I wanna buy a book for all my fourth graders. Okay. So he bought like 150 books. I'm like, that check was crazy. And it was better than the speaking checks. I ain't have to do nothing. I gave him the speech free at this point. So
of course,
he bought all the books, I go drop the book. So I'm like, hey kids, I'm Patrick You feel what I'm saying? Boom. So now I'm like, okay, now I'm finna get 1,000 books. I'm gonna sell for $50 a book. It's 50 bands. Costing me 5 or 6. But once he did that, I said, boom, I'm not trying to sell 1,000 books. I'm trying to sell 100 books 10 times.
10 times, yes.
And so I only started hitting people that could buy 100. And I give this advice to anybody that's selling anything. Increase your margin and then change your clientele. Because when you think about like, okay, what 1,000 people do I know about one book? It's a totally different conversation than we sit here and think about what people do we know that can buy 100 books. Write that list out and then attack them. You need 10 yeses. And my thing was, I wasn't trying to sell them all this week, this month, or this year. It probably took us about 13 months to go through it. Okay. But my thing was, I know I got a $5,000-$6,000 investment. You know what I'm saying? I had one lady buy 80 books at market price. You know what I'm saying? 80 times 50.
Yeah, that's killer. Yeah.
Everything after that is, you know what I mean? So that's where PatFax came. And so now we still, but the book had a character in it, so it took a life of its own. We wrote it for grown-ups, but the school started picking it up because it had a colorful character in it. So we've been doing a lot of work with like Purpose Prep, Purpose Prep, amazingly love labor. She been using the book for her, because we wrote it on the 7th and 8th grade level. Okay. She been using it for her 4th and 5th graders. So they don't even know that they like,
they advanced.
Man, reading out the book, they just love it because it's a character in it that looks like me, or people that they know. You know what I'm saying? I had a beard at the time, so the character got a beard. Right. But if you don't know me, it look like your uncle or your dad.
Right,
you know what I'm saying? So that's been a real powerful.
That's one thing we always, you know, even when we was growing up, we never had that representation seeing us. We always seeing, even come down to church in a sense. You know, how they talking to us. You know
my principal told me that Tom Ward at Human Fall, he's a good mentor of mine now, and I took the book to him early in the stages, and he said, "This is amazing." Mm-hmm. He said, when you guys were in school, I looked for literature that was representative of you guys, and it just wasn't there this way. Right. And I didn't write it for that, but just coming out of the pandemic and all of those things, it was just value in having a black guy from a black school selling a book for black kids with a black kid in it. It just turned into a cool little thing, you know what I'm saying? And even now, there's a lot of people whose kids have been in programs or have came to my events and bought the book and shared it with their kids, and it's kind of taken on a life of its own. But we didn't write it as a book to empower children. We wrote it as like a book. But some of the quotes in there are, you know, love will take you places that life has never been and lust has never heard of. You know what I'm saying? So you're reading that to your son, you got to explain what lust is to him, you know what I'm saying? But if you had a space to have that big boy conversation, you can have it in a safe place because it's coming from a book with a character. And it's also ones that's, you know, the true meaning of life.
But it's also one of the talk that, you know, father and son need to have anyway. Exactly. They have it right now. Exactly. You know, wow.
Exactly. And so that's why we put 52, because we wanted one quote for each week of the year. So some people read these with their kids at night. Right. Some schools read once a week. Some schools do like a 52-day challenge. You know what I mean? So it's been a great thing. But for me, we look at it from a business standpoint. We look at it as a product. And even now, I'm trying to figure out how to pull all of the products out of my business. And if anybody's paying attention to the entrepreneur side of what we're doing and what anybody's doing at a high level is products, man. Like if you're in music, the CD, the music was the product. For us, the book, the workbooks, the curriculums have been the product. Sometimes merch is the product, but if you look at like even Beyonce and them, right? She's moving to hair care, you know what I mean? Kim with the eyeliner, you know what I mean? Hov and them with what they've been doing. They've been into the product game. Right. The product makes entrepreneurialism a little bit easier. Right. Even if you're in the service industry, you know what I'm saying? So if you got a cleaning business, man, take you some 409, put some baking soda and vinegar in it and call it yours. Right. And selling that cleaner will help you sell cleanings. Right. If that makes sense.
And I'm glad you said that, man, because that's going to segue to something. I want to get on your spiritual growth on it, but you said something about the whole even selling a product. I got on Black Denim. It's Black owned. And actually, I'm in works where trying to have an own line with the podcast through the Black Denim line. So it'll help out the resources that we need going towards the podcast, traveling, because you get extra money coming in because we're buying the merch. And I learned that big time also just being around a lot of comedians, man. Like after that show, they out there killing it. Of course, they front me money and back end money from the event, but they selling merch and it's going crazy. Like Charleston White, man, he sell the heck out of them Charleston White shirts. Same thing with Desi. But
it's everybody, artists, tour merch, you know what I mean? Rick Sean, Justin Bieber, doesn't matter who you are. Like the merch is your money. Right. You know what I'm saying? The merch is your money. And it wasn't until I started seeing $12,000 checks for books because somebody bought 200 of them, you know what I mean? And it was like, when you hustling, you get used to hustling. Right. So when I was dropping books off places and leaving, it felt like robbery. Because I was so used to having to be here and talk and voice be sore and all of that. And so for a lot of people, as entrepreneurship gets easier for you, I challenge you to embrace it. You know what I'm saying? Because that means you're creating some systems that like work. So now I'm in the process like, Pat, what you doing? Like, you gotta write another book. You know what I'm saying? So we gotta.
I mean, the grind never stops.
It never stops. It never stops. But I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you good. No, you're right. The grind never stops. So keep on making more books. On your spiritual well-being, man, how's your growth been in your spirituality, man? Especially being an entrepreneur. You know you're reaching and touching lives from the youth and us grown folks. Like I said, when you seen the teachers didn't even know their vision. How has it helped you out, man? Like that's one thing about the podcast. We want to make sure we tap in about somebody's spiritual growth.
Man, I'm so rooted in spirituality. I tell people, man, I've been one of them ones.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I know that's like a popular thing to say now.
Right.
But I tell people, like, when I say one of them ones, meaning like it could have went a lot of ways.
Okay.
Right? And so like with my mom being on drugs and my dad being incarcerated over 20 years, a lot of people that's their foundational story don't end up this way. Mm-hmm. We tell the people whose stories we hear, a lot of them have that upbringing, but most of the people with that upbringing, we never hear their story. Okay. Millions and millions of people that, my mom was a drug addict, my dad was locked up. That's it. Like, that's the beginning and the end of the story. You feel what I'm saying? And so for me, but all the way to like, I never really told this, but I was out of the country some time ago, you know what I mean? And, you know, just being me, looking how I look, you know what I'm saying? And ended up, you know, people trying to rob us. And I'm like, damn, but I always been there. And I heard Hov say something once when he was arguing with Harry Belafonte. And at first I was like, man, how Hov gonna play Harry Belafonte like that? Because I think Harry Belafonte wanted Hov to come somewhere and do something. Because he was like, man, my presence is charity. He's like, because of what I've been through, what I represent, every time I show up somewhere, it's a reminder that woo, woo, woo. So I've been doing this. I don't gotta go where, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so I always was like, wow, where you put your body is the most important, you know what I'm saying? Because like, oh, hey Pat, you be on my podcast? Yes, I gotta physically put myself here. I don't gotta tell you that this is important to me. Because I'm here. Physically. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, spirituality is that connection between what the universe is doing, what God is doing, what you're thinking, and what you're doing. And I think when we talk about mental health, we're talking about the breakdown in that. I always knew I was special. I knew if we all go throw rocks, I'm gonna get caught. You know what I'm saying? We all go sing, they gonna say I'm the best at it. If we all put on the same fit, mine gonna look fly. I always felt that way. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't really about, I was telling somebody the other day, you know, growing up out east, like having money didn't mean you get to do lame shit. You feel what I'm saying? Like having money was one of the things, like if you had money, the expectation was higher. Like you're supposed to pay for this McDonald's when we go out, you know what I'm saying? Like if you're driving around in a whip and stuff like that, like that was just the nature. In today's world, having money like an excuse to do lame shit. You know what I'm saying? It's an excuse to, so you can't even criticize what somebody's saying or give no constructive criticism. They're like, bro, but he getting money though. So what, bro?
They're supposed to squash out everything.
You know what I'm saying? And so trying to remove that and go from, okay, how do I become a resourceful man? How do I become a man of value, financial success, but also stay aligned spiritually, right? And so this is a super, super, super roller coaster. But the reason I say I'm one of them because I remind myself that, so even when I come in, you're like, bro, when it's like, man, I'm humbled to hear my name in some of these categories because I didn't always view myself in that lens. You know what I'm saying? When you grew up without your biological parents, you question your value a lot. You know what I'm saying? Why me? But when you go back to the Bible, I tell people all the time, the Bible is a story about that. And we've been taught to like only give kudos to the figures in the Bible, but I believe that those figures represent energies that God was telling us are gonna come over and over. Like you a Moses type of cat. You know what I'm saying? In the sense of like that's your boom.
Correct.
We're going this way. And the Bible is a guide on how to deal with them kind of guys.
It is.
You know what I'm saying? How to work with them, how to recognize them when they come. And then when you see the Jesus or that, it's like, yo, we're gonna send the guys that I'm gonna send to share to the world. They're probably not gonna be polished like you think they're gonna be polished. Correct. They're probably not gonna be wearing what you think they're gonna be wearing. They're probably not gonna have around them who you think's supposed to be around them. But pay attention. Because my message is gonna come from them. So when I see Martins and Malcolms and Nips, you start to say, yo, what's the people like, man, Martin had thugs and people with him having women. It was like, whoa. Who he had with him? Right. Man, Malcolm had convicts and drunks with him. Whoa. Who was with him? Man, Nipsey had Crips and whoa.
Jesus had who?
Exactly. And so it's like, man, Pat, you from where? Your mama was what? You woo. So when I say boom, coming through that, but God don't bring you through that to go play. You know what I'm saying? He bring you through that so when you get through it, people will know. You know what I mean? That's what God does things that when it happens, you gotta say I did it. Correct. That's how you know when God working, when it's like, hey, Rob, how you get in this building? How y'all get this view for the podcast? Come on, man.
I'm gonna
You know what I'm
and
saying?
it's crazy. It's not crazy, but you even saying that, man, I always piggyback to something. Of course, the Bible always gonna be the top one. It's another book called The Spook That Said by
The Spook That Said by the
That's
Door.
me.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Moses complex.
Yeah.
I just had a conversation with Candace yesterday. We was out to eat, and just just my faith. You know what I mean? Just how I just look at the Bible. It's a storyteller, but it's also it's like a warning. It's telling us, okay, what's going on here. I don't get caught up too much in just, okay, is he real or not? Nah, the book is telling us, like you just said.
It's telling you what to do, but it's also telling you what's going to happen if you don't do it.
Exactly.
So, boom, if you get to worshiping these, boom, man, it might be 400 years that your people persecute.
And it happened.
Dang. If you get the I might take all this away with water, with wind, with...
You know how much flap I got, man, when I bring up that same scenario about how what we was doing in Egypt. I said, he sent Moses for a reason. Yes, Pharaoh was doing what he was doing, but what was we doing as his bloodline? He had to come home. We got to get out of that.
But it's no different when you feeling like a big dog. You know what I'm saying? Imagine Rob flipping burgers. Imagine you being a McDonald's cat. Right. It's no different, man. We in there like, man, let my people go. What time my boy get off? You know what I'm saying? Like, my boy King, he's supposed to be out here owning some stuff, but because he never tapped into it. And I tell people, when I say I'm one of them, that don't stop you from being one of them or her from being one of them.
Right.
I'm one of them. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
I heard Hope say something. He said, I'm so connected with the universe, my karma is immediate. Even when I was in school, I'm one of them cats. Like, if I'm supposed to be here and I get in my car to go there, I'm getting pulled over. God ain't let me get around the corner. Woo woo! And until you recognize that as that, you're gonna keep getting pulled over and keep getting. Man, it was a couple years, man. My license was suspended.
Man, we on the same page.
3-4 years as a young cat.
I couldn't even go to Rutherford County.
And it wasn't until I realized that, man, God, you gonna keep getting pulled over till you stop going over there.
Yes.
God don't want you over there. He don't want you doing this. He wants you to boom. And it was like, so when I say I'm one of them ones, I'm one of them. Like, I got something to do.
Correct.
Anytime I veer too far off of what I'm supposed to do, I'm in trouble.
Right.
But anytime I'm in pocket, fruits.
The light is on you.
And green light. You can't even explain. You like, man, how I end up here?
Right.
So you listen, because you're being obedient. And I think that's what, but to answer your question in a simpler form, I tell people my biggest spiritual belief is that the belief is as strong as the believer. That is the foundational paradigm of my spirituality, that the belief is as strong as the believer. Anything that you strongly believe, if you believe that you're gonna be a good husband, be a good man, and turn into a cow when you die, what I know about belief is that, man, this bro gonna come back as a cow. You know what I'm saying? Because that's no different than me believing I can build one of these or that this can be the next, you know what I mean? Belief is the single most important thing. And when you go and you study all the religions, that's what it's based on. What do you believe in? And that's what dream building is. But the thing is, those powers that be have made us believe in everything else but ourselves first. We believe in the makeup, we believe in the clothes, we believe in the fits, we believe in the money, we believe in the marketing, we believe in the superheroes. You take all that away and ask somebody to believe in themselves. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that belief is you not believing in God. No different is if you don't believe in this kid, you don't believe in his mama.
Real.
If you don't believe in this boy, you don't believe in his daddy.
Right.
If you don't believe in yourself, you don't believe in your creator.
Right.
And if you don't believe in me, why am I waste my time with you? So that true connection to God starts with that belief. And that's where dream building begins, right? And so that's why I say I'm one of them. And I encourage everybody to feel like you're one of them, because that's what I take from all spiritual findings. Is your ability to wake up every day like, damn, God woke me up. Out of all this going on, like I can talk, I can walk, I can go out here and get it. Like you let me sell 2,000 books. You let me get thousands to speak. Appreciate you, my man. I got you. I appreciate you. Anytime. And you got to be careful, because when you start to praying and asking God to give you things or take things, and you start to look up at friends and family and people be gone, you like.
Man, one of my prayers at night, man, is always saying that God continue to open these doors and lead me through your vision. And as you're doing, I'm seeing people drop off. Yeah. And it's just, it is what it is.
And you start to see yourself linked in with people that you never would thought linked in with. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know real relationships to the people that make this going, but sometimes it be that small morsel of belief that keep you attached to somebody for a long time. And the same way that it detach you from somebody is that little more. It's like, bro, I don't got time for you to not believe.
Right.
And I mean believe in action. I mean believe in your physical, not believe in your audio. People will believe in you from a audio standpoint. Oh yeah, I believe in you. Cool, bro. Meet me down here at 7. Man, you know I got it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But when people actually believe in you, back to what Jay just said, man, my presence. You know what I'm saying? When people physically show up for you, bro, that's a different level of belief.
It's a different level.
But I watched y'all physically show up. I watched you physically show up for yourself. So it's easy for me to meet you at 11. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But we're not physically showing up for ourselves, and then we asking people to bend over backwards and break rules. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to break rules on the way to this dream building thing. That's one thing that I learned from successful people. They waking up and now analyzing what they supposed to do and figuring out how I been at a little bit to make it work for me. You know what I'm saying? It's no different than athletes or sports players. Like the Euro step was like, I don't know if this legal or not.
Right.
It worked. Bet. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't know if I'm supposed to shoot from back here or not. It worked. Bet.
Right.
Even dunking was illegal.
It was.
Don't jump up there and do that.
Right.
We ain't never seen nobody do that.
We can't do that.
We can't do that.
Right.
They was like, nah, you know what? That's kind of fire. We're going to have to add that in.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's the thing that when I say you one of them ones, when it's like, you willing to look at what's going on, bend it for yourself, and take everything that come with it.
Okay.
And because everybody is one of them ones, the reason that people don't step into that is because they don't want to take the stuff that come with it.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? They don't want nobody sitting down and combing through an hour of them talking. They don't want nobody looking at their teeth or listening to their accent.
Right, not real.
Talking about their outfit or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But that was my goal this year. It's like, man, Pat, you gotta tell your story. You've been doing the work. And if you don't tell your story, somebody else gonna tell it. And it might not be the right way.
Man, look, we have a thing here we always do. It's called Savage Questions.
Yes.
There's 3 of them.
Okay, let's get it.
I gotta hit you with them, man. So the first one, bro, public speaking, you're mastering the killing. What's been the most hostile environment that you had so far with that?
Hostile environment.
Ooh. You got the crowd ain't feeling it, or you feel like you might be feeling it, or you just I'm just nervous about this place, man. I don't know. You ain't gotta say names, so I don't want you to mind trouble.
Okay. That's what I'm man, hostile. I've had some, but they don't stay that way long, man. Probably like high schools are always tough.
Okay.
Easy. So my man work at juvenile court.
Okay.
So again, it's one of my free sessions. He'll call me, so there's a program at juvenile court. It's pretty much like Saturday school.
Okay.
And so if you get caught in trouble, drugs, fighting, but it's more high level offenses. Kids that stole cars, they caught with a pistol.
Get into it.
But they've been going to school, so they're not going straight to jail. They give them this chance to go through these Saturday programs. So one of the things that he does on their way out is he'll fill their Saturday with maybe 3 or 4 people to come talk. So I go talk, take a couple books, you know what I'm saying? But last time I go down there to talk, you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
They demeanor already like, man, what he gonna talk?
So I'm talking, I'm in my spiel, right? And other kids coming in. And in the middle while I'm talking, one of the boys like, hey, DJ, man, come sit right here.
Yeah.
So now I just gotta go back to the neighborhood. I'm like, bro, that's lame as hell, boy. Everybody looking like, what? I'm like, so in the middle of me talking, you want to flag down another man to come sit by you. And then he tell you, no, I'm straight right here. You know what I'm saying? But this is what he didn't know. The student he was flagging down was one of my old students. So he trying to pop his big one, being rude, disrespectful. She walked in and seen me. One, I'm laughing because I didn't know she was a big dog like that.
Right.
She was a girl, but she be outside. So apparently she had some respect of her peers. But she see me and she like, man, what up, Mr. Reese? So she just took the first seat by the door. So he like, man, come on, sit down. She like, man, chill, you doing a lot. And I'm like, wow, how you let her be so real? And you just want to be blatantly disrespectful? Why is that? Boom. So we going around what you want to. So that's probably the biggest environment, but it's also the biggest moment for change. Because over the next 30, 40 minutes, you get to see like.
And he's sitting up and he just, okay.
Because now I'm asking people what you want to do, what you want to do, what you want to do. And I always tell kids in every session, even grown-ups, I said, teachers, man, don't stop them, don't wake them up, don't make them get off their phone, don't make them stop talking to them. I said, because life is gonna make them put their phone down. Life is gonna make them pay attention. Or he gonna be somewhere with a job asking somebody, can you go to the bathroom? Hey, can I take a quick 15? I said, I never wanted to have a job where I was working in a little spot and I gotta ask somebody, can I go to the bathroom? Hey, can I go out here and take this call?
Right, I take you back to school.
I said, but if you don't do what you're supposed to do, that'll be, you know what I mean? And so in that moment now, the earnest is on the kid. Like, man, do I want to really pay attention to these next 30 minutes? And I say, it ain't me. I ain't the end all be all. But what I can guarantee you though, if you can't lock in on your dreams for 30 minutes, I can guarantee you nobody else cares.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There's nowhere else you're gonna go and somebody's gonna sit down and talk to you for 30 minutes about especially with what you got going on.
Right.
And you start to see the kids kind of like, and I tell them, you gotta understand, it's gonna be times in life when the person next to you don't give a fuck about what you got going, and you still gotta care.
Right.
And so those are some of the biggest turnarounds. And then some of the kids that be in there are kids that have been in other workshops.
Okay.
And they've heard me say some of these things. And now you're in a place where it's like, yeah, if you don't get this right now you're going to jail.
Like it's hitting.
You know what I'm saying? And so, but yeah, those are the most hostile environments. But it's also too because it's like the beginning of the prisoner pipeline.
Okay.
And you see how many of those kids that are in there that this really could be it for you. You know what I'm saying? Like if you miss school tomorrow and they say, because it's the thing I tell them too, you not built like that. And that's what tagline I tell a lot of people, whether it's going to the pros, being a doctor, entrepreneurship, even these young women like, yo, these guys that want to be husbands, or people like, I'm finna get married. I'm like, go talk to your mom. Go talk to somebody that did 30 years with one person. Man, you ain't built like that.
Right.
You ain't built for prison, my boy. You ain't built for 5 a.m. workouts. You ain't built for, you know what I'm saying? So that's just one of my, even I tell myself sometimes, like, Patrick, are you built for that? You know what I mean? And so that's the biggest joy, but it's the hardest part because you gotta know you're gonna lose a lot of those kids. But the ones that you don't lose, the ones that don't end up on school, when you see one of them graduate, and I tell people the biggest thing is like when I had them talks, it's just like anybody else. When 5 years from now, if I see them kids in Kroger's or Walmart, the ones that's not doing what they're supposed to do or didn't heed, they
Right.
But the ones that did, Mr. Reese, what up? Man, I'm down in Nashville State, man. I sure got myself together. I'm about to work. I don't care if you could be working at Walmart full time. And I tell you, this is what really changed my perspective. Back when I was at Mark O'Brien, I was doing the what you want to do thing. And one kid said he wanted to be a bus driver. And I was like, hell nah. You know what I'm saying? My arrogance, right? Like, you don't want to be no bus driver. I remember calling my mentor after the session, like, man, kid told me he wanted to be a bus driver. He was like, tell me about it. I'm like, 8th grade, maybe read like a 5th grade, live in the projects. He's like, stop. He's like, if that kid want to be the bus driver, he said, it sounds like if he grows up and becomes a bus driver, he's doing well for himself. He said, it's your job to teach him how to own the bus company. And I was like, phew. And that's really where Aspire was born. Because it was like, I don't care what you're doing, there's somebody doing it at a level big enough to make it work. I don't care if you're picking boogers, taking pictures, looking at dolphins, telling jokes, selling shirts. There's a way to do it that's big enough that somebody's gonna pay you and it's gonna grow. You know what I mean? And that's kind of where Aspire was born. And for those who don't know, Aspire, the word means to direct one's hope. Because it's like you ain't putting nothing, you ain't God, right? You ain't putting nothing new in somebody, right? But can you stir some stuff up that direct their hope in a way that, like, dang, I want to drive, but have you ever thought about Gray Line? And I had to sit back and think, like, if this kid can wake up and fill up it.
He didn't say what he could have been in it. Always.
You see what I'm saying? All the way to, hey, Mr. Reese, I'm driving for Taylor Swift. Now here I am, a goofy, telling the kid he don't want to be a bus driver. And this bus done took him all over the. So that was one of the most humbling moments for me. It was like, nah, he do want to be a bus driver. He didn't say that for no reason. Something about it he enjoys. That's freedom for him. Now you teach him how to be the best goddamn bus driver ever. And that been the whole month. I'm glad you got me back to that. That was an important part.
No, that was real. That was real, man. The second one, bro. I see you be hooping. So let's take you back a little bit to high school. What made you say, I'm gonna put the ball down and do something else? Or did you really? So
this is the thing about basketball, man. I loved it.
Okay.
But I never really managed to. So I played all the way through 8th grade. Played a little 9th grade ball. So my 9th grade and 10th grade year, I kept getting in trouble at home.
Okay.
So my my junior year, I ended up getting a bad grade in pre-calculus, and my parents thought the smart thing to do was not let me play basketball. The summer between that, I had played AAU with the Tennessee Thunder. I ended up sneaking the Thunder tryouts just because I'm playing ball every day with people that's playing.
Brandon Wright on the team like that?
Man, yeah. So the Thunder had a couple levels. I was on the 16 UB team.
Okay, I got you.
The A team was, them guys was cold.
Hooping.
They was going to play in big boy tournaments. We was going to play in the other tournaments. At the end of the year, you were going to play. So AAU was cool for me. I snuck the tryouts. I borrowed $20 from everybody at school. Like, give me $2. Give me $1. I'll get back to you tomorrow. You know, I ain't tell my mom. I just had to prove to myself I could make an AAU team.
I got you.
Because at that point, AAU was only for like it wasn't no like paying for AAU. Like,
no, you had to be elite.
You had to be elite. Somebody was coming to get you. You was paying. You know what I mean? I mean, we got to see the Travelers play once. Corey, I was like,
man.
Right?
Boy, Jamie, you know, they were doing things.
Yeah. Nuts, you know what I'm saying? And so for me, I just kind of wanted to experience that. My junior year, I didn't play. My senior year, I got the opportunity to, we had a girl at our school named Ryan King.
Okay.
Our girls at Human Fall was really, really good our senior year. Like state, they were supposed to go to state. They ended up losing at sub-state. But the girls coach, her and I coach Angela Hubbard. Her son coaches at Overton now.
Okay.
We had a really good relationship. So she asked me, and they do it a lot in girls sports now, but she asked me to come be on the scout team. So my job was to guard Ryan. Just because there was no girls that was pushing her at that time. Right. And I, man, thoroughly. I was hoping it was gonna go to state. I was gonna get a ring and everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so I was even, so one of probably the clip you're talking about last week, the Human Fall got like a 40-year anniversary. So I went to school with like Starlito and Mitch Brown, Jamar Dow, these people doing some great stuff. So they let me play just because I was a part of the basketball culture. That's why I'm on my post. I was like, I'm glad my little JV experience. Let me qualify. But you know, Human Fall was like a family. You know what I mean? And so I remember having to go to the coach. I actually scored like 19 points in a sophomore year against David Lipscomb. I remember I had like 3 left-hand layups. And the thing, you know, when you're early, you want to dress varsity. So I remember at the time, Coach Harden and Coach Waters about to let me dress. You know, if you ball in JV, like they'll let you dress the next week. So it's about to let me dress. And it was the same time I had to tell him, like, man, my mom said I can't play no more. You know what I'm saying? And that was kind of like the beginning of the end. You know what I'm saying? From a social emotional perspective. And I tell people that's why I do what I do now, because I remember how that made me feel. I remember where my confidence went. And I understand why my parents did it at the time, you know what I mean? I feel like they thought that was a good like parenting decision. But now that's why, I try to do what I do because I try to encourage people. Like I've been in meetings where kids have had terrible things happen in their life and the teachers and the adults are in the room like, they can't cheerlead no more, they can't play football no more. And I ask them like, yo, if you take that from them, they don't have nothing else for you. And it doesn't matter who you is, right? We can see a guy who loves his family and his family gone, he losing. Women that love their kids and their kids go to college, you know what I'm saying? And so when you gotta be careful when you take the things from people that they're choosing because people give up, you know what I'm saying? And so luckily I was blessed to stay around. That's why I always credit Coach Hubbard because she gave me that outlet to the game, to that extracurricular and not going home after school. She gave me something that kept me going in a really, really tough time because like playing basketball or sports, you know what I'm saying, being in a high school environment or education environment as a black man and not playing sports is tough because we try to find value and it's hard for us to find value in those institutions without those things, you know what I'm saying? Even now when I tell my friends when kids go to PWIs, like all of my friends that have sports builds, that went to PWIs and didn't play sports, they had a hard time finding value because those white kids and those white institutions, they see you 6'2", you know what I mean? They're like, everyone I know that looks like you does this. You must not be
one of them.
You must not be a good one of them. Because you don't play anything. And then you see them trying to like overdress like where they from and overtalk like where they from because they trying to remind people. So that was TSU saved my life in that sense because I didn't have to put on no more. You could just be. For the first time in my life. Man,
it was crazy how I'm going to segue this third question. It was going to go that route anyway. It's a real savage question because HBCUs and PWIs. What do you tell the audience, somebody who's on the fence of like going to UT Chat, like you said, UT Knox, but TSU, Alabama A&M was right there waiting too. What's the choices you think they should look at on that? Because I like how you broke down about how you had to overcompensate yourself when you met these PWIs. They're like, oh, you 6'3", you look the part. What's wrong? Oh, you went okay.
Oh yeah, for sure. Whether it's sneakers, even I was a big sneaker. I came to school with 20-something pair of Jordans. That was my identity. Like once I couldn't play ball, I started working at Finish Line. That's why I said God, He gonna give you a little bit. Because once I started working at Finish Line, I was able to create a new identity. I was fly.
Right.
You know what I mean? I was like, you know what I mean? It was like, thank you, I got it. You know what I'm saying? I'm still in the little sports realm, so nobody was able to know how much I was hurting. Because of course I'm not going around school like, man, I wish I was playing basketball so bad. It was just
very transparent about your level of your talent. I like that.
Yeah, for sure.
No,
I can't lie. You know what I'm saying? Because these people know. You feel what I'm saying? Like they know. But you also, and I told my little brother, I laughed because when I left that game, that alumni game, the lady said, did you play in college?
Right.
I said, no, ma'am. She said, you were killing out there.
Right.
I said, that's all I need.
That's gratification right there.
Because if you play a little bit, you like, okay, he ain't no scrub. You know what I'm saying? The
Right.
frustrating part for me at times is I don't know how far I could go.
I got you.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And of course, I ain't a tall guy. You know what I mean? I remember when I was in school, Trebecca was coming to scout my guy, Alex Renfro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I always joke with my parents because me and Alex played together all the way from Old Hickory Community Center. And so I'm like, if Alex went overseas and made millions, shit, I probably could have went to Mexico. And
something.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, you know, God works how He works. But the PWI HBCU question. So ask me the question again.
So basically, man, any high school student right now that's on the fence of where they want to go, how would you ease that conversation with them, man? Because I'm always staying with HBCU. You know, we teach you through and through.
So I'm gonna start at the top.
Okay.
Because I got a little girl and I gotta be honest, right? I don't want this to master P me.
I got you.
When I get on my HBCU run and then send my son to Houston when he get the ball.
Right. Or Louisville.
Right? And so for me, I tell my daughter and her mom, we talk all the time. I don't know how valuable college as a whole is in the current education market. My tagline is, if it's not free, it's not worth it.
Okay.
Right? It's almost like how like on the Dave Ramsey model, they'll tell you only buy cars that you can pay cash for. For most people, the car you can pay cash for ain't the car that
being a go-kart.
You know what I'm saying? Or it's just gonna be, it ain't gonna be sexy. You know what I'm saying? Like if you got $10,000, $15,000 to pay for a car, you could probably finance one for $3,000 and get something way better, but you're gonna be paying on it for years, right? And so, but the smart thing to do is get a car you can pay cash for. I look at college the same way. If you've been alive for 18, 19 years and you haven't developed a skill that's gonna get you a scholarship, then you're probably not going to do that. You're probably not going to enhance yourself by taking out loans to go to this institution. Does that make sense? So even if you want to go to school without a scholarship, you should now look at it like buying a car and get one you can pay for.
Correct.
Does that make sense?
Correct.
For that, it puts a lot of young people that look like you and I in the HBCU realm, because unfortunately HBCUs have become a mid-tier acceptance pool. Does that make sense?
Even mentally.
For sure,
right?
And that's a whole other conversation. I get frustrated when I talk about the mental play of what integration and all that did, because when it was just us for us,
I'm just feeling, man, I just had this conversation.
It'll blow our minds. But even now, I get frustrated. Like the other night, I was watching the Kansas versus Kansas State game, and I try to get people to understand what integration did was allow other institutions to pick and choose. The smartest, the most attractive, the fastest, the biggest ones of our communities don't stay in our communities, and we get no money off of what they generate. So the Kansas, I wish that they would say, all right, Kansas, Kansas State, Alabama, I wish that those schools would have to play sports with the percentage of their minority enrollment.
Right.
So however minorities are represented on your campus, that's how they get to be represented on your teams. And it would, that way, just like overseas, those teams can't fill up their teams with black people.
Right.
Because it still has to look like a Dutch team or a Spanish team, so you get
same thing with Canada.
You get like two.
CFL,
you know what I'm saying? So Alabama, if you got 50,000 people at your school and 100 black people, then you get one black person on your football team.
Right.
So we make you boom. But then what that does is the rest of y'all in that state go to your aim. Because what we don't understand is the community is that the money that makes these PWIs, schools that we think are better, came from 50, 60 years of sports. You know what I'm saying? That I had an argument with this girl, was like, I didn't go to Duke because of basketball. I said, you don't even know that you went to Duke because of basketball.
Right.
Coach K been Coach K for 30 years.
For you in here.
Those four letters on that shirt don't mean the same without Johnny Dawkins, Christian Laettner, Grant Hill. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean the same. And I tell people the power why I say we one of them, African Americans, because if you take those same institutions, that same Kansas versus Kansas State game, and you take African Americans away from it, billions of dollars leave that game. You take ESPN.
It's funny you say that. What's the name that played at K-State? We forget about K-State because he ain't there no more. Same class as me.
Mike Beasley.
Come on now. We knew about Canada. We forgot about Kansas State.
Yeah.
He chose to go there, change the whole dynamic.
And what they understand that we don't, we just need one.
Just need one.
Right? And now, as long as you put 4 African Americans in this, if they win, that's a plus. But we're going to sell this thing out regardless. And so all of their institutions have hospitals connected to it. I tell people all the time, Vanderbilt pay all that money to get their ass kicked in the SEC so that those smart kids can come get drunk with Georgia and LSU, and they don't have no desire. They don't care nothing about winning.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But they're going to put a product out there to play.
Right.
And that product is going, and then we like, oh, they gave him a chance. They let that boy in Vanderbilt. Man, that boy made Vanderbilt billions.
I tell Jamie, man, you know, Jamie, my childhood friend, man. We went to kindergarten together, Greymar Pirates football together, pal, and then we went to Quarterman to White Street together. That's the Jamie, when you was there, you was on the billboard, bro.
Yes.
They milked that.
Yes.
Yeah, big time. You know, holding the basketball and holding football at the same time.
And it gives that individual no real ROI. You go and you do what you can with it, but they've created a system that creates generational wealth for them. You know what I mean? So, but to answer the question directly, it depends on what your holistic support system. You know what I'm saying? So if you went to all black schools coming up, and then you go to an HBCU, you get out there, that might not be the best route for you because it's not a realistic example of how this world goes. You know, I don't care what nobody says. I had to tell my son, Patrick, you got to get in rooms with white people more. You have to have conversations with.
Where we at right now?
Even I've had players that the kids that I work with that told me like they like, Mr. Reese, I've never been around this many white people before, and I'm like, dang, because I know that that's not a realistic perspective on what's gonna happen.
And I think that's one thing, even in my life, what made me so able to talk to white folks. My first culture shock, bro, was my first 2 years in college. I didn't go straight to TSU. I went to JUCO.
I remember hearing you say
out in Arizona.
Yeah.
Man, I'm the only.
It's different.
What?
It's different.
That was my first, I'm from the South. You know, what?
It's different.
So when I came back, my lingo, I can talk, I feel more confident. Public speaking was better because I had to do it in front of these white folks. It's harder in front of them than it is us. For real.
So, 2 things. If I could do it over, I would have gone HBCU and then the PWI for grad school.
Okay.
I went to TSU for grad school just out of pure laziness. Nothing against TSU. I just didn't feel like applying and doing all that. I was able to walk to somebody's office, hey, I want to go to grad school, and they made it happen for me. That's the beauty of HBCUs.
It is.
You know what I mean? The relationships. But that's also the beauty of schools. So that's why I say the especially for black males and for black women, the route that I would encourage anybody that I've guided, I would tell them, go to HBCU, then go to a PWI for grad school. Because that way you get the holistic experience, you get the best, like even me, if I went to TSU and then went to Vanderbilt for grad school, I go to both homecomings, I had the city on lock from a relationship standpoint, you know what I'm saying? Because you got roots in both parts, you know what I'm saying? But as far, I've always said I won't make my daughter go to an HBCU though, you know what I'm saying? Because unfortunately, you know, like I tell people, we all had that conversation when you got kids, right? You know what I mean? Your son play football or basketball or something like that, if Duke or UNC or if they call, we going. Right. And that's just the reality.
Yeah, I almost went old man.
You know what I'm saying? And we got to look at that as not a cultural thing, but of a business thing. You know what I'm saying? And the same for my daughter. If my daughter goes to school, and this depends on where TSU sits, but if my daughter decides to go to college, I tell people, I've been screaming this, but I'm Spelman, you know what I mean? Like, we want to shoot for that. level of historical excellence, just because I don't have time to kind of like roll the dice. You know what I mean? And I think some institutions, not just HBCUs, but PWIs as well. Like you can go to UT and crash out. You know what I'm saying? But some institutions are a roll of the dice if they don't have a concentrated pocket of excellence. And so, yeah, I wish that HBCUs need to get our athletes back. If we could get our athletes back, we would increase.
Change the whole dynamic of everything. Money, first off.
And, shouts to Dion. Anytime I had this conversation, shouts to Dion. I wanted him to stay. I understood why he left, you know what I mean? He didn't sign up for that, right? And he was being a father, and he did what he was supposed to do down there. But I think holistically, he had a chance to do something that we won't ever see again.
He's the only, I want to say Randy Moss also, but he's the only one who could have galvanized that and turned it.
And I don't even think Randy could do it because Dion was Jordan Iverson in the sense of cultural impact. You know what I'm saying? Like Moss had it, but I tell people when you talk, like we wasn't walking around looking like Moss. We wasn't walking around wearing Moss.
That's true. We just say we got Moss. We'll say that when we wasn't dressing like that.
And that came later. We wasn't saying you got Moss when Moss was playing.
That's true.
When Dion was playing, you was hitting it.
Right then,
I remember at Alice Green getting grass stains on my day. Was like, don't get no grass stains. I remember scoring touchdowns. I gotta take this knee in the end. I got it. You know what I'm saying? Wearing the bandanas, you know what I mean? The 49ers, the Cowboys, the cockiness, rapping. Like Dion was doing these things long before. And I think a lot of this new generation, like even my younger brother, he's 28. I had to sit him down last year when the Dion stuff was happening and show him like, bro, Dion was playing baseball and basketball, and a lot of people, even when he was at Colorado, didn't know like his daughter was playing there, both his sons was playing there. And so if we could have done, then people was gonna go wherever he was at. If we could have kept that energy and then my college game day at the black schools, and that would be my biggest dream, is to see HBCUs get to a point where, because imagine this, man, you got all schools playing with black people. Certain schools are PW, predominantly white, some schools are predominantly black. But the schools for white people, we're gonna always kick the schools for black people ass, and we both playing with black people. You know what I'm saying? It's like we playing with the savages, but your son over here kicking your ass. You know what I'm saying? It's like, how did I get to a point where the kids, with my people on that team? You know what I mean?
TSU, Notre Dame.
And it's cool if y'all on that team, but y'all that much better than us, right? And so that is the part that, but the only thing that'll do it is resources and it's money. And so from now, what I understand about college and when I have my own kids is like, I can't necessarily, and this is why the problem won't happen, because somebody gotta like be the bearer of that. You know what I'm saying? And so it won't take long, and that's why before NIL, a lot of this stuff was there, because I had to realize, like, these kids had to be getting something to make them not realize that, like, Kentucky and them guys, like, take the NCAA championship, right? You got 10 guys. If them kids come out and be like, yo, we not playing until somebody pay us, that money is going to be there before the jump ball, because we can't afford for y'all to, but what we know about business is, because you're talking 16, 17, 18-year-old, 19-year-old kids, you had to give them something long before this, so that, because they can have this thought every night. Every night we on Sports Center, and my mama going to work in the morning, I could be like, hey, y'all, on some Fab Five shit, like, hey, we want 100,000 a piece. We ain't going out here until they give it to us.
We ain't stand on it.
And if they did at the right game, that money would be there, because we can't afford. They can't come on Sports Center and be like, the Kentucky Five ain't coming out tonight.
And they go against North Carolina.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
And so when you start to ask them questions like, why nobody? But it's just, and that's what I say about dream building. And they was 50 years ahead of that conversation.
They were.
You know what I'm saying? And I think our forefathers thought that we was chasing equality. They didn't realize that we was giving up the only leverage that they had. I tell people this all the time. I think that if slave owners were alive now, they would look at like what Jerry Jones and them doing in Michigan and Alabama and be like, boy, who's working too hard?
Man, right there.
Because it's billion-dollar industries, right? And they putting them in these little cities, in these states, you know what I mean? Like Alabama, states like that will never have pro teams.
Right.
Because all of them, you know what I'm saying? But the driving force behind that is black men. Period. Now, however you shape it. If you take that same system, same camera, same uniform, same everything, and you take black men out of it,
gone. Rashad Mendenhall said that, man, on Vlad TV not too long ago. He was like, man, let's do a Pro Bowl game, whites versus blacks. See who wins.
You feel what I'm saying? Like you love Alabama that much?
Right.
Quit playing with Florida guys.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? You love Alabama that much? Give me 11 Alabamians. You know what I'm saying? And it wouldn't take long, right? Because if the majorettes and the bands and if college game day that's why we ain't seeing Deion ain't doing nothing. Everybody got a Deion uncle.
Right.
But it's like when that camera get a hold to that level of blackness. You know what I'm saying? And so that would be and what people don't know is that's why it went away. They was like, y'all do y'all. Until we sold out Yankee Stadium. Morgan State versus, I can't say the other school, maybe A&T, Morgan State. We can look it up, like 68. Morgan State, this was after bro came out and was like, Alabama coach was like, governor, we don't want no black people down here. Morgan State and them folks sold out Yankee Stadium. Some thousands of people came to watch 2 black football teams. Next thing you know, next year, we're going to get us a black person in Oklahoma. We're going to have us one down here in Texas. And they started to see like, and they said if Alabama doesn't get black players soon, it'll be the end of Alabama football.
Well, what's name showed them when he was OJ to USC?
Come on. Now you look 30, 40 years later, all that, right? And so I'm always going to say that the HBCU is the best place to develop us, but if you try and take business to the next level, you got to stick your feet in there with, you know what I'm saying, the PWI, just because it's just a game. It's just a game, for sure. Oh my God. Yeah,
it's coming down, man. Look, Pat, man, where can the people find you, man? Your social media platforms, anything. How can they get to reach you?
Oh man, Patrick Walker Reese on everything. I tell people just pull up your Safari, Google me, you know what I mean? Patrick Walker Reese. Aspire to Be the Dream is the company. That's what all the things are. Pat _ on Twitter or X, but everything else is Patrick Walker Reese.
Man, I appreciate it, bro.
Thank you, brother.
That was powerful, man. Y'all stay tuned.